This is the NSQ number 3 entree. Anyone can enter, and Reza still has an opportunity to beat Sleep. Imagine if he won these next 2 games.
I know, that would be
How
absolutely...
big of an upset would that be?
I know, people will be talking about it. You know, in that last battle, I do want to say that Banshees, it's like one of the golden rules when you're going something like that. The Banshees are independent of your Hellions and your Thors. Do not keep them together. There's
don't
no
control
reason.
The group them together.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no reason
They're
to
independent women. Just let them be.
Because what you
the
want
best kind of women.
is the infestors to actually be fungling them individually and not obviously together. And you actually have to use a ton of fungals or a ton of infested Terrans if you just want to kill the Banshees alone. And then from there, you can actually start fungling down the Hellions and the Thors. But obviously, getting all of them together, that's like, thank you for my present. Thank you for staying like a Metapod.
Yes, Andre.
That Metapod did not use Harden, man.
It's, yeah.
He used Splash. Do you know how good Splash is?
Splash
it's not good.
Did nothing.
It did nothing.
That's the extent of which it is. Let's go ahead and introduce our players before we talk about anything else. In the top center, we have the red Terran, Reza, the unknown player that's trying to make a name for himself, just trying his hand. And you know what? He's very brave. I just want to say that out. It takes a lot. It's very easy for everyone to criticize from the armchair and be like, LOL, he's making mistakes. But to try your hand to see how good you are, that's kind of like the cool thing about open qualifiers. You can see how you match up against a Korean pro like Sleep, who is the blue Zerg in the bottom left hand, currently teamless. Now, Andre, let's talk a little bit about Season 4 and what these qualifiers represent before we move on as well.
Yeah, definitely. As you guys know, you can expect great things, the HD quality, the VODs, constant material that you have to look at. But not only that, we have a lot of extra content. You know, Season 3, we had all these interviews, we had player profiles. That was just like the tip of the iceberg, I want to say. We had so much more behind the scenes that we really couldn't show you guys because, of course, they got edited out. But in Season 4, we're like, hey, why don't we just give this to all of our subscribers? And that's what we're going to do. We're going to give you so much extra content that you don't know what to do with it.
Yeah, we'll have a lot of content in terms of exclusive backstage or behind-the-scenes footage, outtakes, B-roll. We have also lots of cool ideas planned. We're inviting some players to join NASL as well, and we're not going to reveal that just yet. More information on our website. It's going to be really cool. The next season's going to be awesome. It's going to be must-watch every night to see how each division plays off, because legitimately we're looking at some of these divisions, and we're like, well, we don't know who's going to win because it can go either way.
Yeah, in Season 3, we had like 3 or 4 divisions that were just completely stacked. Right, like those 3 or 4 divisions, you're like, oh my gosh, I have no clue who's going to take top of this division. And then those other 2 were like, yeah, they're good, but you can definitely see like the disparity.
Yeah, like Pumo's going to dominate.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Stefano's going to dominate the division.
With this coming up season, though, with a lot of the lower players actually relegated, I don't think we're going to have one of those divisions. Yeah. I don't think we're going to have one of those days where it's like, oh, I have to cast Division 6 today. No.
Which doesn't even exist in NASL.
Well,
there's only 5 divisions.
I didn't want to give it away what I thought the bad divisions were last season.
That's
not bad, but the higher disparity in skills were.
All in all, guys, we want to just say that Season 4 will be awesome, and that's why we're holding these open qualifiers. That's why Reza and Sleep are fighting for their spot, because they want to be included, man. Some people just want to be part of it. They're not trying to be the center of attention. They just want to be involved. And that's exactly what these qualifiers are for. 1 spot to the winner of the tournament, as well as $750, $250 for the runner-up.
Anyway, that being said, not much has happened in this game. This is the standard for both these players. Zerg is going to react to the gasless fast expansion by going a 3rd hatchery quite fast. You can see, not faster than the 4-minute timing that we normally see from PvZ, but it's still quite fast in TvZ. Terran is going to go for, yet again, this Cloak Banshee, or excuse me, I always say Cloak Banshee, but it's Banshee with some sort of Hellion Marine.
I would like to say it's Cloak. Cloak has just seen a lot of utility throughout the mid-game, not even throughout the early and mid-game, not even necessarily just for pressuring drones, but even if people choose to use it to control creep, control towers, really force Zerg to have to really invest in defense. They have to push out the Queens and the Overseers to really pick it off. And then you're able to spot expansion timings. You can pop in, see their hive timings, their lair timings as well. So there's a lot of utility. They're kind of using it similar to Phoenixes in PvZ. They kind of use it for early harassment, controlling the map, but then overall, throughout time, they kind of add a lot of utility in how they deal with Banshees. You bait fungals. That's really key as well.
Yes, sir.
So those kinds of things are what MVP truly tries to maximize.
Do you know what counters Banshees really well, though? Hydralisks. Boom.
I didn't know where to go with that one, Andre.
Hydra's so good.
I guess. In the same way that I guess Queens can counter.
I'm telling you, man. One of these days, I'm gonna enter the NASL Open Qualifier.
You're gonna enter
season
next
number
week,
5.
aren't you? You'll be like, guys, I'm gonna go on vacation, and then Gretorp mysteriously enters Season 4 qualifier.
But I'm gonna be on an alias. It's gonna be Frotorp.
That's right.
Nobody's nobody's gonna know.
Gretorp backwards. I guess we won't figure that one out. Oh, and he's playing Zerg. Like,
and then all of a sudden it's like, who is this Frotorp guy? And then I whip out
the Hydra Ling timing attack in ZV2.
Exactly.
The one that works.
Like this guy. Wow, he's using Hydras.
You would revolutionize so many ways to play this matchup if that was crazy. But oh, look at this! Talking about revolutionizing, this third base going to completely light everything up on fire. And trying to see if he can catch all these drones. Reza doing a pretty good job microing as well. Really making sure to dodge these Zerg and targeting down the drones. Very
9
nice.
worker kills. That's very good. Look at the infestor count. The drone count, 46 to 38, so that evens things out. Of course, 3 orbital command centers will give the Terran advantage as soon as he actually drops all 3 of those mules. He hasn't done that yet, but again, he's going to go into armory tech, factory tech with the 2 armories, and he will be going for Mech. Now, Mech, let me tell you, Mech on Metropolis is not the go-to.
You don't like Mech?
I
actually
not on
really
Metropolis.
I actually do like Mech.
On Metropolis?
Yes.
Tell me why.
Even though there's areas where you feel like you can get counterattack and surround, for example, if you funnel everything, if you're able to get that timing attack, first of all, because you're initiating it, and you should be safe back at home because it is really easy to defend the 3 bases in Metropolis.
Okay, yeah.
As soon as you can get past that watchtower, there's a lot of areas where you can force like really good engagements to the point where you can never get to the Thors, and Thors will be able to, because they're just so massive. I think you really underestimate how big the push can be in terms of just volume. Like, you take up a lot of space, and it's not easy to get surrounded.
I get that, but when I see a map like Metropolis, and you're trying to go Mech, and the line format of all your expansions, like he has to either expand over here or over here, I basically say, you cannot go to 4 base. If you go to 4 base, you're dead. So these are my triggers when I'm Zerg. You take your 4th base, or you push out with your army. I'm going to have a huge drop in this top left-hand corner, or a huge drop in this bottom right-hand corner. And I just sit there, right? I just sit there. That's all I have to do. And if you do not attack, I make spine crawlers. I make, let's say, a ton of infestors, and I just sit behind that. And I say, come at me, please. And if you take a delayed 4th base, I'm just going to have waves and waves. I'm going to have the whole map. It's going to be very difficult to actually do Mech, I think, on this map. And
a lot of people haven't really experimented with roach drops against this kind of Mech build specifically, the one that powers up so heavily off of the initial factory before adding on. Now, Reza mixed it up a little bit. He added a 4th factory pretty quickly in terms of everything.
I like that.
Was trying to scale so that way he can at least keep up the amount of Thors. I think last time he only had 3 Thors for the push, which really hurt him because he wasn't able to really set up this point where it just overwhelmingly takes so much space that Zerg loses so much ability to grab position. But I agree, Andre. If there's ways to stall for time like with the Roach drop and hit where Terran is really weak as soon as they move out, I think Sleep could really capitalize. And Sleep's actually one of those guys who really loves dropping. In ZVP for a while, he was going for things like Roach drop off of layer tech and really trying to hit Protoss back when they were still experimenting with a lot of Stargate timings. So I'm curious to see how Sleep reacts, but for now it seems he's pretty comfortable. In fact, he's about to finish up Hive before 13 minutes, so he seems very comfortable.
Oh, yes, he does. And he might not even go for the whole Roach drop thing. I think that's a little bit more in vogue with, let's say, Liquid Sheth. I've seen Liquid Sheth actually do that a lot against Mech. And it can be very powerful. Of course, it's very difficult to actually pull off sometimes, but as you said, the Hive Tech is on the way. This could be strictly for upgrades in the beginning phase. Actually, I know it's strictly for upgrades in this beginning phase because he doesn't have the gas to actually buy everything he needs, which is 3-3, of course, Adrenal Glands, and then whatever tech he wants to get, whether it be Spire, whether it be Ultra. Whoa, wow.
But look at this, 95 drones from Sleep. We talk about how safe this guy feels. I mean, he was upwards almost at 100 drones, but of course he's making buildings, he's making things like extractors and buildings, but that's almost too passive.
That's absurd.
And it's because Reza's been so passive with these Banshees. He's always been making Banshees, but not really moving out across the map. Just kind of assumes his opponent knows what he's doing. And even if he does have the spores, he doesn't understand what Zerg is doing right now. He doesn't have vision necessarily unless he scans.
That's a problem. The range for Zerg is just so incredibly high. It's like, what am I defending against? Is it going to be mass ground? Is it mass air? It's just so scary, and you can see no Vikings out in the field, so he's actually only optimal against ground-based armies, and thankfully for him, Sleep is going for Ultras. We'll see if even that's going to be enough. I really feel like just the powering off of 8 gases for this long is going to be really, really difficult to stop. And not only that, I mean, how does he push out and actually keep everything else safe? This third base is going to be under heavy, heavy fire as soon as, here's the trigger, and these Zerglings are going to be put to action. Yeah,
that's why you have to SimCity really well. The third base from Reza is pretty open. Yeah. And yeah, I completely agree. If Sleep's able to stall for enough time, he should be able to get these Ultras out, get the Fungals, and lock everything down in place. Now, Reza has to be very cautious with how he does this, but at the same time, he has to worry about the Zerglings at the third, or is he just going to leave it and push anyways? In fact, double attack from Sleep, both at the natural and the third, and now trying to move his way into the mineral lines. Reza, what are you going to do? He's going to siege up and slowly deal with things back at home before moving on.
Yeah, there doesn't exist a push like this. You can't. The counterattacks are way too powerful. He needs to go for a base trade. Do you want a base trade against like a 5 base or even a 4 base Zerg when they haven't been hindered at all in the beginning stages? No, you don't want to do that. That's terrible. You're going to be absolutely slaughtered. And look, all these units around the middle of the field not doing anything. It might look like Reza is like, you know, it looks very silly. You don't know what he's doing, but it's like, what does he have to do? He can't really do anything with his army. It's just stranded. Do I go back and try to defend this, or do I go for the push? Well, if I go for the push, this is a lot of creep to be walking on. There's no good option for him because he put himself in a position where there is no good option.
And if you're not able to protect against a counterattack, you are going to be in big danger as well, as the Zerglings, the Banelings, and the Ultras coming in from every single angle. It doesn't even really matter that he doesn't have the Infestors directly supporting it. Just going to go ahead and fungal the Banshees. GG. And just like that, Sleep wins 2-0. Koreans holding strong. Here's a news update. Koreans are pretty good.
Koreans are pretty good. South Koreans. South Koreans.
South Koreans. Guys, that wraps it up. I mean, I think we covered every aspect of this this series as well as the game. I just want to commend again Reza for trying to use a new build. Of course, if you're trying to experiment with that build, you know, I think it's a really good build still. Don't necessarily think it's awful, but again, I think it's map dependent, like you said. Yeah. I still think it can work on Metropolis. I mean, MVP did make it work on Atlantis spaceships, and it's something similar.
MVP is a sicko. Like he doesn't make sense.
You can't actually measure things that MVP is like measuring things at Tasia. It's just it's just not cool.